Welcome to T-Bone's Best of Roanoke show. Music, comedy, and conversation featuring HB, the honey badger.
Honey badger don't care.
Now, on with the show.
On a moonlight wind, I'll pass your door. By the time you wake, I'll be gone 200 miles or more. Through the narrows gap, down the mountainside, bound for the land where cowboys ride. Out across the plains to the Lincoln Rails, where State Road 2 feels the ruts of the Oregon Trail. Up the rocky slopes and the Great Divide, into the land where cowboys ride. I'm going where my soul is free, where the rivers run both ways to the sea. I'll stake my claim and for a while reside out in the land where cowboys ride.
Boom, boom. HB, are you ready?
I'm ready, T-Bone.
Haha, this is Radio Free Roanoke. This is episode 164.
Woo.
T-Bone's Best of Roanoke show. She's Aspen, black singer, songwriter, and educator of the West, I might say. Aspen, it's been 4 years since we interviewed you last.
Is it
Welcome
really
back.
been?
Wow. Yeah.
I want to catch up on what's been going on, but I'll tell you what's been going on with me. I've been listening to this very, very solid, very, very nice CD over the weekend called Born to be a Cowgirl. Have you ever heard of it?
I might have, you
Yeah.
know.
Might know a little something about it.
Well, what can you tell us about it? Because it's very good.
Well, thank you. Well, we recorded it in Nashville, starting out back in November. And I took a test track down to a new engineer, new to me, named Drew Middleton, just to see if we would click as a production team. And went down there with my daughter and Carrie, my duo partner, and Drew and I, and worked on this song. Found out that it was going to work out pretty well. The song was Where Cowboys Ride, and at the time I thought that would be the title track to my CD project. And so once I got that in hand, I was actually headed out to Albuquerque to the Western Music Association convention out there. And I had talked to a mentor I have out there named Marvin Odell, who is very influential in the radio. He keeps the charts for the Western Music Association.
Okay.
Oh.
And he's really helped me along the way with my production, with, just making sure that I'm hitting the mark on things. And so I asked him if he would be willing to listen to the test track that I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was a pre-master at the time. Mm-hmm. And let me know just, am I on the right track with this?
Shoot it to me straight.
Right. And like I said, he's a person that will really tell you how you're doing. He's not going to sugarcoat anything. And I would actually rather have that because I would hate to, I always say it's like the old story about the emperor's new clothes. I don't want to go out in front of everybody thinking I'm dressed beautifully to find out I'm in my underwear and everyone else knows it except for me. So I really do appreciate people that tell it to me straight because I have a chance to fix that and get it to where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. So I sent this to Marvin and I got an email on the way back. We had tagged on a few extra performances on the way back. Got an email, probably the most glowing email I've ever had from Marvin Odell. And,
You framed it, I bet.
right, I needed to print and frame this. And the essence of it was, you are totally on the right track, and I can't wait to play this on my radio. Just let me know when it's released, and I'm so excited about this. So I knew at that point, yes, I was doing the right thing. So I went ahead and contacted Drew and said, I'm sending 9 more songs to you. And so over the course of, I think he worked on them in December, and then over the course of January, maybe February, definitely a couple times, I drove down to Nashville, and Carrie, my duo partner, drove up from New Orleans, Louisiana to Nashville, and we converged upon Nashville, I think a total of 3 times after the initial test session in November. And we just went at it, 3 songs a day, just, really just hammering at it. One thing that was great is that Drew was really open to using our arrangements of the songs.
Okay.
So when I recorded in Nashville in the 90s when I was doing mainstream country, one thing that really didn't set well with me is that I would play a song a certain way, and then I'd hear them produce it. And while it sounded great, it didn't sound like my song anymore.
Really?
And it was like there was such a gap between how I performed it, the arrangement I performed it. It could have been in the fact I was playing fingerstyle and they were just like a rock version. It was the same song. It was the same melody. It was the same words, but the production was so incredibly different that I always felt like I could never really uphold that on stage.
Oh, okay.
Unless I had a full band behind me or something. And so it's always been important to me to try to produce these songs with someone who's willing to use the arrangements that are very close to what I do on stage, but then just enhance them a little bit with more instrumentation. And so when I recorded, I think the last time we had an interview in probably my 2017 CD that I did with Randy Walker here in town, we did a lot of things that sounded almost verbatim to how I do them on stage.
Oh, okay.
Which to me is important because a lot of my CD sales come from the concerts where people have just seen me play live.
Yeah.
And if they liked how it sounded there, they say, oh, I want to take a copy home. So again, that's very important to me.
I get that, yeah.
That connection is there between the music they heard in the room and the music they're taking home on the CD.
So you wanted it to be real on your
Yes.
CD instead of maybe commercialized with
Or-
how
Right.
Nashville would fix it up a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thought because as I talked with Drew about how to produce my vocals and how, I will say, I'll take a step back and say that I have a 20-some-year history in home production and home recording and maybe local type production where I'm hands-on with the engineer. So I talk the talk and walk the walk when it comes to being able to go to the digital workstation and say, cut this, tag this area, raise the gain over these things, EQ this a certain way. I mean, I can talk their language.
Okay.
And so that was really important to me when I went in there. It did take a little time for Drew and I to establish what I was saying and what he was hearing to make sure that we were communicating properly. But he was really open to working with me like that. And I feel like I got a product I wanted that, I would tell him, I want this to sound a little bit like this or that. But he told me, like, okay, I can produce the vocal in, say, a pop country sound. And he gave me a little snippet of it, and I would go, no, back off that, because you lose the nuances.
Right.
So on this project, one thing Drew pointed out is that I have really good pitch with my vocals. And so he didn't have to auto-tune heavily on anything, which is a common practice nowadays. People auto-tune all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a great plug-in, but what it does is take the nuances and woodiness and breathiness and fullness out of a person's voice.
Right.
And it makes it kind of center down on the proper pitch, which in turn loses the life, really, of that track. It doesn't feel like it's breathing and living and moving anymore. It feels like it's almost too perfect.
Yeah.
And so I told him no. You know, unless there's just an egregious error, get off of that button. Don't do it.
Back off, Jack.
Exactly.
Well, the song tracks that jumped to my ear, well, of course, the lead single, right? Born to be a Cowgirl.
Yes.
Where Cowboys Ride. Wonderful song, very snappy.
Thank you.
And then Montana, that was a duet
Like
you did
Montana?
with Carrie
Yes.
Grombacher, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And that's one of your 3 duets. That's very nice. And then the last song, Aspen, was Dreams, Lies, and Love.
Dreams and Lies and Love, yes.
Yes, very pretty
Thank
song.
you. Thank
So
you.
it's just a total package there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And then one of them, they're all original except for one, right?
Yes, all originals except for one Utah Phillips cover that is requested at every one of our shows. It seems like there are people who come back at the end of the show wanting to buy CDs and, you know, chit chat with us. And I think there's not been a single show when we haven't had multiple people say, which of your CDs is that song on? I want a copy of that one.
Yeah.
And we say, we're original artists. It's not our song, so we don't record other people's music. And they go, oh, I'm so bummed. Yeah. So we decided, since I had some extra room on this project, that we would go ahead and get the permissions to record this.
And that's I Remember Loving You.
Yes,
that
I
it?
Remember Loving You.
And that's a duet.
It is a duet, and we do it differently than the cover versions that you hear out there online and the way some other people have done it. So we had to get a little more permission than just going to the Harry Fox agency and saying, we want to do this the way they did it. We have changed the arrangement. We've changed some of the words. And anytime that you do something like that, you have to contact the actual original artists that are involved in that and get personal licensure and permission to rewrite and rearrange their song.
Okay.
And thankfully, Carrie is an extremely well-connected person in the folk music world and was able to reach out to exactly the right people.
Right.
And the Priscilla Herdman, I always say that wrong, was a person who did the duet version with Utah Phillips. I had changed some of her wording. She gave me the green light. Utah Phillips has passed on, but his widow is in control of his estate. She gave me the mechanical license. We sent everything like, this is how we do it. They loved it, said, don't even have to pay for it, just give me a copy of the CD.
Awesome.
Boom, boom,
So
boom.
I was really excited to have people working with us like that who just were passionate about getting that music out there.
And what also I liked about your CD is every song in the liner notes, which is very well graphic, nice graphics and pictures. You've got a little story about each
Yes.
song.
Yes, I
And
do.
it explains what it's about
Yes.
or how you were inspired to write it.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
Then, is there any one of them, Aspen, that you might want to touch on a little bit here?
Well, yeah, I'll say the title track was kind of an interesting story about how it came about. And it so happens that it was in December, and I was getting ready to lend a guitar to a local musician here named Matt Horner. And he had, an old guitar with strings that were all broken down, and, he was just not able to write on anything. And I said, well, I'm sure I got something extra. And I, as I do, I put things off, and I realized, it's time, I've got to get that up there to him. So I went looking through my closet and storage area of different guitars, and I realized that the only guitar that I was not actually playing that I could lend out for a while was an Alvarez that I had first taken to Nashville with me when I was 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
When I first started into commercial country music. And so I thought, well, okay, that's going to be the one. And so it was late in the afternoon. I had been out chainsawing wood because it was December, and
She's tough,
stocking up
HB.
Yeah, I don't
wood
doubt it.
stove. And I
She's
thought,
a cowgirl.
that's right. Well, got to do all that on the
Yeah,
farm.
that's part of it.
And so I was like, okay, I've got to get this thing restrung because the strings on there had been in storage forever, and I didn't want to give him something that just was lifeless sounding. And so I said, all right. So I put a new set of strings on it, and this is not that guitar actually, but I restrung and said, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and break these strings in because he's going to want to be able to play it right away. And when you put new strings on, you have to stretch them a little bit because you can't just tune it up, to the regular tuning and then expect to play 15 seconds into it, everything's going to go south and it's going to sound horrible. And he would have to spend, an hour or more retuning and tuning and tuning. So I said, well, I'll do that for him. So I sat there and just started playing through a progression like this. And I was thinking, as I'm doing this, I'm like, well, I'm going to do a country progression because this is a country guitar. This is the guitar I took to Nashville. And I thought, okay. And so I just kept kind of doing this over and over to stretch the strings. And then I got bored because you play this over and over and all of a sudden you get bored. So if you're like me and you're a songwriter and you put things just out of your head. And so like I said, I've been cutting some wood. I've been working in the barn. And so I got thinking. So I just threw a line out that I'm not sure where it came from, but I remember Daddy said, cutting wood and moving cattle. It was early fall, 1983. And I just kept going. You're like, oh, what am I going to do here? I was young and I was fearless. Sometimes fell, but I was tearless. Loved my mom and dad, but destined to be free. And that's kind of progression. And then I just kind of kept playing around. And I wrote 1,000 acres full of wonder and frustrations. I learned just what life meant to me. About that time, I said, that's kind of commercial and catchy.
There's something there.
And, because I was trained as a commercial songwriter in the 90s, I knew what I was listening to, right? And I said, And my first thought was actually to finish it and pitch it to a girl who's 18 years old in Idaho and sings those kind of songs. And I said, well, I should finish this for Vanessa and send it on out to her. And so I was like, okay. And I just kept going and, picked up where I was. I was born to be a cowgirl, following those hoofprints made before. Yes, I was born to the streams of mountains, to both settle down and roam forevermore. And I kind of was like, well, I got a verse, chorus, a pre-chorus, and I pulled out my recorder really quickly, got that all down, said, well, let's finish this out. And I finished out to the bridge. I was thinking of a young girl at that point. So I started to think of myself as a young girl. And I thought, well, what did I do? Back in, I'm holding this 1990s guitar. I was coming of age in the 90s. I was, 18, 19, 20. I was 18 when I went to Nashville with that guitar. She's around that age. So I kind of projected myself into the person I thought maybe I was writing this song for.
All right.
And I thought, and I just started throwing out stream of consciousness things that I did. And most of everything in that song is something I experienced in my youth at that age and time. Crazy stuff. Little bit of it stretched or, made to fit the rhyme scheme, but pretty darn close to, I I saddled that Holstein. No, it was not a large Holstein cow I was riding, but I had this calf, a Holstein calf, that I was bent on breaking and using in a TV show I was doing for Cable 12 at the time. And I did get on his back some, so that's real.
Yeah.
You know, I remember old Doc Wilson, learning rope tricks from John Childress, you know, those things. Those actual people were not real, but Doc Wilson is really our local vet. And, you know, so I did take a couple creative liberties, but a lot of them are real memories that just, you know, I used to go to these ropings a bunch. And so, again, all these things just kind of fell right in. And I wrote it all the way to the end of the second chorus and thought, okay, that's as far as I really feel like. I did a recording of it for Matt, who I was sending the guitar to, said, hey, this is what your guitar sounds like. And then I just put it away because I'd written it so fast. It was like literally 15 minutes at this point from the time I started just, you know, strumming like this to the time that I had this song to that point. And I said, yeah, haha, that was fun. And I was just like, that's not a real song, you know. So maybe I'll pitch this to somebody, but yeah, that happened too fast. That can't be, yeah, that's not real. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And so I just set it aside and then went to one of the song circles here with 3rd Street and just decided, hey, on a whim, I saw the, you know, where I'd scribbled it down on some notebook paper, and I thought, well, I remember some of it because it wasn't all on there when I wrote it down. And I said, well, I remember enough of it, so I scribbled it down really fast, the rest of it, and said, I'll play it in the song circle. I did, and the people just went wild. Oh. And I thought, you know, I thought, oh, audience connection. Yeah. maybe I should take this a little more seriously. So I sent it to Carrie, my duo partner, and I was still laughing at the time. And I said, you know, you're probably going to laugh at me because he writes all these serious songs. And I'm like, this is a really commercial country song. I'm like, I don't know it even has a place in anything. But give it a listen. Tell me what you think. Well, he came back and said, I actually really like it. And he said, but I think you need a 3rd verse. And he had he works with some outfitters out in South Dakota. And sometimes works with Michael Martin Murphy's daughters and things like that. And so I can't remember the exact person that he was remembering, but he said, this is her life. And let me give you a couple facts about her and her life. And we turned that into a 3rd verse when he gave me some of those facts. And so I, you know, did a little diddling around and sent it back to him and said, what do you think of this? And it had brought it full circle at that point. Because in the early part, it was just kind of like stream of consciousness there. Isn't this cute? It's an identity song. But it didn't really have that kicker of a meaning for me until I finished that 3rd verse and realized I'm following in Daddy's footsteps, which to me, you have to understand a little bit of what's gone on in my life the last few years. The pandemic was very hard on me, and there have been a lot of, you know, shakeups and changes and things like that. And one of the things I've been getting a lot of pressure from my family and people close to me and people who love me saying, you need to sell the farm, you need to move into town, you need to just consolidate your life, make things a lot easier for everybody. And the farm was bequeathed to me when my father passed away in 2008. It was a joint venture between me and him from 1995 onward. And I will not joke, it is in poor repair. The fences are really needing a lot of work. The barns are needing work. There's just a lot of maintenance issues, especially for one girl to try to take care of herself. And so I was like, you know, I'm really having this kind of identity crisis, this sort of what do I do? My heart's in this farm. My family's legacy is in this farm. My parents literally bought that farm for me to run, and that was supposed to be my end-all legacy.
Right.
Do I sell it? What does that do to me? You know, what is that? How is that honoring the legacy that they provided for me? And I'm struggling with all of this in December, and had been for a while, about a year. And when I finished that third verse of the song, I came out of there on fire. Like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not selling that farm.
Right.
I was meant to be a cowgirl. This is who I am. I can cohabitate in the world, but you cannot take the cowgirl out of me. This is me.
Yeah.
So that's how that song came about.
And I think that's emblematic of the whole CD, Aspen. It's kind of like, this is your response to all those things that were going on. I might get knocked down, but I'm getting back up.
That is true.
And you did. And all the things you've done in your life, you write about real life, your experiences, the West.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to get ready to close it down here, but you've done barrel racing.
Yes.
Which I'm not sure quite what barrel racing is, but you've done it.
Oh, yeah.
You've trained horses at age 14. You're a certified farrier,
Yes,
which
sir.
means horseshoes. Is that
Horseshoeing,
right?
yeah.
Right? So you've done it all. You've lived it all, and that's what you
Yes.
write about.
Yes.
And then, as far as the future goes, from here, where do you see yourself? With your new album, your new single, and all the music on today's show is from your new album.
Yes.
But where do you see yourself in the next few weeks
Well, next few weeks.
or months?
Months touring. I mean, just touring, supporting it. I have a really full schedule for the summer. As usual, I do children's programs a lot in the summer,
right,
but I also have lots of concerts that are supporting this album. I do know that we released the single about a month ago now, and I'm getting really good metrics on the radio airplay across the U.S. and into Europe. The physical release went out about a week or so ago. I've heard back from a lot of the DJs and gotten just really good response on, yes, we're going to play it. This is going to get lots of airplay. We're loving this. And the digital release, I think, is, if it's not out, it's pending. It was supposed to go out right around Memorial Day weekend. So I'm getting crossover country and Western airplay because of the way it's been recorded.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited. My first far out of state is in Kansas and Missouri, and I've got a house concert out there at the Bixler, which is a really nice listening room. And just, again, singing these songs, singing some other songs, just playing this.
You're the real deal. Any
Yeah.
any last words for Aspen there, HB?
No, but we're on stage at the 3rd Street Coffee House. We have
really?
Aspen right here.
There you go.
Wouldn't mind hearing a tune.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Let's see.
And by the way, Aspen, while you're doing that, if people want to buy your CD or stream it,
Where
Well,
can they
let
find
me
it?
make a really quick plug. If you're local here in Roanoke, June 17th, 7 p.m. is the music. 6 p.m. is a pre-music pizza and potluck. You do need to get on the list for that if you want to come, so I make sure I buy enough pizza for everybody, or you're
right.
going to go hungry. But June 17th, Saturday night, CD release party. Carrie's coming up from New Orleans. I've got some local musicians joining me on the stage.
it's going to be here.
We'll be
Gonna be
right here on the stage.
All right.
So come on out for that. Otherwise, if you're local, you probably already are in a lot of the circles I'm in, so catch up with me and grab your copy of the CD. If you are not local, just message me through Facebook or through my website, aspenblackcowgirl.com,
Okay.
and you can arrange to have that shipped to you.
All right.
Very nice.
So.
Well, if you can take us out of here.
All right, well, you mentioned that you like Dreams and Lies and Love, and that's how the CD closes.
It is.
So I'm going to go ahead and take you out with that one.
All right.
Inspired by being out in Gallup, New Mexico, and a lady came up to me with a necklace, wanting me to buy it, and was talking all about how she's connected with that artist. And really got me thinking about people and how much it's easy to brush off somebody, but it's also easy to stop and listen.
Shakes the dust from his cowboy boots, settles at the bar. He's not a boss, doesn't own a ranch, not a top-hander rodeo star. But he tells his tale of living, leaves it like a rug, hopes and fears and fantasies, dreams and lies and love. A woman warms by a pillion fire outside the plaza shops. She pats her wares and she looks my way, swings some turquoise to get me to stop. Then she tells her tale of living, leaves it like a rug, hopes and fears and fantasies, dreams and lies and love. It's so easy to just keep walking, never stopping off along the way, never taking time to listen to the things people say. Ditch boy at the auction barn, guy in the fast food line, and smoker by the feed store dock, or the clerk at the 5 and dime. They all yearn for one to listen, to lay their souls out like a rug. Hopes and fears and fantasies, dreams and lies and love. It's so easy to just keep walking, never stopping off along the way, never taking time to listen to the things people say. We all yearn for one to listen, to lay our souls out like a rug. Hopes and fears and fantasies, dreams and lies and love.
Wow, thank you, Aspen.
Thank you.
She's Aspen Black. The CD is Born to be a Cowgirl, and you're our favorite cowgirl.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Go
very
get him,
much.
Aspen. Go get him.
Yes.
Thank you
All
so much.
right.
Wow, that's a wrap.
I remember Daddy said, cutting wood and moving cattle. It was early fall, 1983. I was young and I was fearless, sometimes fell but always tearless. Loved my mom and dad, but destined to be free. And I rode 1,000 acres full of wonder and frustrations. I learned just what life meant to me. Oh, I was born to be a cowgirl. Following those hoofprints made me fun. Yes, I was born to the streams and mountains, to both settle down and roam forevermore. Now I remember old Doc Wilson learning rope tricks from John Childress. Back of the barn I took my first sip of Jim Beam. Shooting sacks for target practice, tried to make wine from a cactus, and they all laughed when I saddled that Holstein. And I rode 1,000 acres full of wonder and frustrations. I learned just what life meant to me. Oh, I was born to be a cowgirl. Following those hoofprints made me fun. Yes, I was born to the streams and mountains, to both settle down and roam forevermore. Now the greatest gold of all is a western sunset, with the prairie grass below and the white sky above. Today my daddy came to visit my little place down